Hi there. It's time to make some things out of old book pages. Yep, I've got a stack of them. And the pages come from this altered book. I tore out a whole bunch, and you can see that in last week's video. I'm Lori at Positive Thanks Living, and I make things with paper. I love paper. I love books, and I have a lot of books on my shelf. And I probably won't reread them, but many of them I just don't want to get rid of. So I'm repurposing them into journals, into memory books, and this one is going to be a gratitude journal. And I have now areas that I want to put things in, and I'm going to use those old book pages for some of this. I have other ideas. I made a banner with some of the old book pages for our Thanksgiving celebration, and I'll show you a picture of that when I introduce how I did those pages. And you can see that I'm sort of putting the things I want to change or add to poke out of the book. And it's to remind me which one I'm going to use. Oh, there's one of the ideas that you can make with old book pages. I'll show you how to do that later. Yeah. Do you have old books on your shelf that you're not using that you'd like to make relevant and useful again? I recommend trying out making an altered book. Yep, my gratitude book. I added that. You can see how I did it in the last video. So I'm pointing toward the list of things that I made, that both I made and I am going to introduce. The first one is die cuts. These are old book pages, and I glued a few of them together, and then I scribbled on them with fallish colors, and they're going to go in the book. I'm looking for a place to put it right now, different one, just to add some interest to each page. So I found that when I do two pages together with either glue or Mod Podge or, even glue stick, when the glue dries, the papers become stiff. They almost have a feeling of, not cardboard, but heavier cardstock. There's the word, cardstock. And it's a simple way to make something pretty out of something you already have. And it feels very satisfying to use up those old book pages. I don't know if you have a Sizzix machine, which is like a press that you use a metal die with to cut out shapes. If you do, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, check on Etsy. Many shops will provide die cuts. I have a friend, Celeste. I'm going to link below to her. She often does die cuts, and she does such a good job with them. I'll link below to her. And yeah, you can see what she has in her Etsy shop. If you yourself don't have the time or the tools to make die cuts. The glue that I use to attach these is called Art Glitter Glue, and there is no glitter in the glue. It's just the name of the company. And I decant it into these tinier bottles with a silicone topper on the very slim tip. And I don't have a problem anymore of the glue drying up in the nozzle. And it works beautifully, so I'd recommend those kinds of little bottles. I got it on Amazon. I have a really big amount of those little bottles. I'll never use them on all the years I have left to craft with. So yeah, maybe I should do a giveaway of just a bunch of little stuff. I wonder if anybody would be interested. Some die cuts and I'll give away of a whole bunch of little things. Leave a comment below if you're interested in that sort of thing. I'd be happy to do that. That's what this junk journaling community is all about. Sharing what we have, providing insights, and doing things that you would not, you can't just go next door and borrow some glue. So this is a book page that I put Mod Podge on both sides, and then I ironed on the napkin. It's just one layer of napkin, and I'm going to make a banner out of those, and I'll insert a picture so you can see the banner, the way it looks in our dining room. We're preparing for the Canadian Thanksgiving, which is at a different time than the US Thanksgiving. Oh, I'm showing you what I did. I wonder. Apparently I'm going to iron in this video. I've made the video over a period of time, and sometimes I don't remember what I've done. I bring it into iMovie. Yes, see? I'm just ironing it. And what the heat does is reactivate the Mod Podge that is completely dry. And it causes then whatever you want to stick together to adhere. Now this is napkin. I actually, a little later in the video, I put together an old book page on top of a piece of paper as a writing space. Yeah, I have all these that I have all the Mod Podge that's dried. And it has an interesting texture with that Mod Podge on it. Here we go. I'm going to show you. These are Thanksgiving napkins, but in colors. I'm not fond of orange. So these are colors that I enjoy and that are in our dining area, as you saw in that picture. And I'm putting them between parchment papers so the iron doesn't have a problem sticking. It goes quite quickly. It's surprising. And there it is. Now, I need something on the other side that if I make this into a journaling card or a tag, you can write on. So this is the paper that I'm using. I love this paper. And it's the same process. You just heat it up and the Mod Podge glue activates. It's so cool. I'm not a fan of getting my fingers sticky. So I've done the glue stick, and in a pinch I'll do it too. And I've done wet glue, like PVA glue, school glue. But yeah, it just gets sticky. And then putting down the napkin it's crinkled. Yeah, this is so much easier. I'm thrilled. I'm really happy to have found this option. Trimming it using my trimmer. One of the better purchases I've made for crafting is this little trimmer. I'll see if I can find it and link to it below. I bought it on Amazon. I buy many things on Amazon. So now I have my piece of paper on one side and a napkin on the other, sandwiched between it's an old book page. And I'm going to make both a tag and a journal. Snip it apart, and it's that simple. And the trimmer makes every line straight which I have to tell you, when I try and use a scissor to make a straight line, yeah, that's not always successful. And I always round the corners of what I make, if it makes sense, because for me, my eye, it looks more finished. And you don't have to do that. It's not necessary. But, yep. So I'm going through all these. Basically, an old book page, you can do anything with it that you do with any other paper. This is a translucent piece of paper. You see the difference in color? So I soaked it with baby oil, and it makes it kind of like vellum. And there's another thing you can do with a book page. I stamped on it and used a little bit of that translucent paper. Now there is an envelope I made, and I made a button. That's 4 or 5 circles glued together, and that is a piece of packing tape. Now here is how you do it. I painted this with watercolor pencil crayons and water, and then I just put a piece of packing tape on it, and you see how it takes the top layer off, so it becomes translucent. Basically, you're making your own washi tape in a sense. It's very shiny, obviously. So, more things to make. If you'd like this list of 20 items, I have a link below in the description where you can find it. Now, the button came out of the circles, and these word statements, I just looked on the page and I found different statements that I liked. And so I just cut the strip out so I can put them in my book. See how simple some of these ideas are? That's painting on, and that's stamping and painting, and more of the translucent paper. I stamped those, and then I painted the open parts so that you can write on it easier. Not a very successful stamp, that. And more tags and pieces of paper with the napkin over top. I have to admit that was really fun to do. Yeah, that was me coloring on there, and then where I lifted it off. And I was practicing, so I made more and more. And the idea is that you can use old book pages to color on, to stamp on, to paint on, whatever you like. Yeah, I used those watercolor paints. They're pearlescent. And that's also pearlescent, and with Mod Podge. So, yeah, that worked with the Mod Podge over. So you can make a wreath using cones all the way around from old book pages. I'll try and put a picture in there. And I made like a little piece of 3 pieces together, and it's like an ornament. And a good old-fashioned daisy chain. That's from the edges of paper. And I used a stapler just to staple them together. And that was fun, and so simple, and so easy. It makes something to put on your mantle, and this worked out really cool. Isn't that neat? Again, just looping pieces of old book page with a stapler, and you can make it as long as what you want. It has this unique quality. It was cool. Now I'm going to just add a few of these items to the book as I go along, so you can see how easy it is to repurpose, make something new out of something that's old. And book pages, basically anything you can do with paper, you can do with an old book page. And this paper is even more sturdy, often, than new paper. It has this beautiful patina. that, and if you don't like if you don't like the old looking paper, absolutely, just a book discarded from your library that's more modern. We have a lot of books that are put into the landfill, and using what we have, I think, is something that it both feels satisfying, and it's a sense of not adding to whatever goes into landfill. I think we're modeling something for every generation, including our own, on what to do and how to use what's old to make something new again. This book that I'm working on, it's going to be a gratitude journal based on Philippians scripture, and I'm going to take it with me wherever we go over the next 2 months. As I mentioned, Canadian Thanksgiving is in October, American is in November, and as a family, that's what we focus on for these next 2 months. So we have a couples getaway weekend, so I'm going to take it along and invite everyone to write down what they're thankful for within it. And when we're together with our family, or when we have people over for a meal, I'm going to invite everyone to write in it. So when it's all done in December, I'll show you. I'll make a video flip through just so you can see how something like this can become a keepsake. It can become a snapshot of this time period. It becomes something that you can do with your friends and family that is more than, tailgating or watching a movie or whatever you do. And I think it'll turn out beautifully. We had a book that I made, a journal that I made during the pandemic, when just our family, our little group of 7 got together. And I have our grandchildren, when they were little, scribbling in it, our grandson. Pictures from when he was 4 or 5. And our son wondering when I was going to sell something with all my junk journaling. Just little notes in there. Poems that our family loved and had seen over the past week. Or scripture. Or, it's a snapshot of a time period that was unique. A little scary. Unique, though. And that's on my shelf. It's an old book that's been repurposed and made into something new. Now, next week, I'm going to make an art journal from an old book. Join me then. Take care. It's Lori.